Hello everyone, I'm here today with a flip through. I am doing the third Chicago trip from 2024, and so I have three that are all in one album. And then I went again in October with a friend of mine. That's going to be its own album because there's just way too much to fit in here, and it's very like Halloween themed. We did a lot of those kind of holiday activities while we were there. So it would have to be its own anyway. But this is more of my generic stuff that I did. But on this third one, it was my husband and I that went, and we actually flew out to Chicago on our wedding anniversary. So that was fun. And luckily, I had some DIY embellishments that actually matched with the color scheme of the plane. And my husband, without me even saying anything, he wore an orange shirt, so it all worked out. So I love it when things come together like that, and I don't have to work too hard. So on here, I just have that embellishment that I made. I did some quick stamping right there because I have several stamps that talk about air travel. So that was kind of a nice space to put something there. And then I have a whole set of cards. Actually, I have two, I believe, that are Chicago themed. So it's always nice that I can use those since I'm there a lot. And then I just had this little piece of ephemera that I thought was perfect since we were together and we don't travel that often together. And it was our anniversary. So once we got to Chicago, we flew into O'Hare. So it's a further distance from the city than Midway Airport. So it's a while. So you have to take the blue line. So we took the blue line, and then we were staying in Lincoln Park. So from there, we had to get a bus that would get us closer to the place where we were staying. So this is us just waiting around on the corner for the bus to come, and we just saw some interesting things on the buildings there. And then we basically just checked in, got our bags, settled in the room, got all that in order, and then figured out like, okay, like it's going to get dark soon, it's dinner time, where do we want to eat? And this place was just a couple blocks away. I had actually eaten there before, once when I was in Chicago by myself, and I said, you know what? It was really good, and I'll just try something different this time, so it's fine to go there. So we did decide to do that. And then here I took a 3x4 card, put it on the 4x4 pocket, stamped a little bit, added this, and that was really all it needed. This layout shows a little bit of the inside of the pub, which is, it's very cool. Now, I will say, when I ate there before, they have an outdoor area. It's a deck that goes like right up to the street. I prefer that. The weather was lovely because this was August, so we did sit outside again, but I did wanted to at least show the inside because it does look nice. And then I decided to do just a 3x4 insert here because I didn't have enough to make like an entire new page, but I wanted to be able to use this card and then also to put this photo on there. So it worked out well just to do it like this. And then over here, I had this little piece of ephemera that says meal ticket. I thought that was appropriate. And then I have this card and decided to just put this little phrase on there. And the only bummer of this is the lighting out there was kind of weird. You can kind of see it here behind us. When I took these shots, like I got this sort of bluish tint on them, but you know what? It's not bad enough that I wouldn't use the photos. So I just put them in there and I just worked with what I had. So that was it for day one because we came in kind of late. We really just had dinner, went back and watched a show. We streamed a show on the iPad when we were back in our room. I think that's all we did. And then we just went to sleep because we knew we were going to have a very full day the next day. So, and that was a Monday. This is Tuesday now. And since I'm in Chicago all the time, I asked my husband, like, what's the one thing that you haven't done in a while or ever and you want to do it? And he said, I'd like to go back to the Adler Planetarium. And I had been there not too long ago, but I said, okay, we will go and do that. So this is what you can see from just out front of the Adler, kind of to the front and side. You can see the skyline. And then if you turn kind of the other way, you can see the shed. There's a little bit of it peeking out there. That's the shed aquarium. And I just happened to like have stuff where all the colors matched really nicely. So I had this DIY tag that I had made. I had a Chicago sticker that was this blue, so I slapped that on there. And I just had like some fun little embellishments that I might not otherwise use. And the fact that they were pink, that just worked out great. So we have some pictures from the outside of the Adler here. All I did was add that little piece there. And then this is the inside because we did go through all of the exhibits that were open. We went through them. So I have some pictures from those and just talked about the experience there. And it was easy to match with the yellow because of this over here. So it all worked out. And then when we were done there, we decided we had a nice little gap in between when we were done and when we needed to leave again for the show that night. So we found a dinner spot that was pretty close to where we were staying. It was pasta, and oh my God, everything we ordered was fantastic. We actually ordered this and split it, and same with the salad, and it was just enough because we also had bread. Like, we were loading up on the carbs with all that pasta and bread. That's a lot of carbs. So it was actually good to share. Worked out very well. And then I had some cards that just really matched. And I don't know if you can see this that well. I hope the camera's picking it up. That you can see that the faded image kind of silverware. I didn't put that on there. That came with the card, but it suited this really well, so I used it. So the whole reason for going to Chicago is because we wanted to see the Stephen Colbert Show live during the Democratic National Convention. Normally he only films in New York, and it's super difficult to get tickets there. So when we heard he was coming to Chicago, we're like, that's it. We can get there pretty easily. Let's put our name in for the lottery for tickets and see what happens. And we got tickets for Tuesday night. So you can see us here. We're off to the show, and you actually have to like stand in line for a while outside. So we had to line up even though we had tickets, and you can see like some of the signage and stuff that was in the area. And then I had a whole set of digital cards that worked for this, and obviously knowing what we know now, it was not the outcome that we would have liked. I'm still appalled that slightly more than half the country voted in someone who's a rapist, racist, convicted felon, bankrupted 6 times, doesn't understand how tariffs work. But it is what it is. We will go forward and survive. That's about all I can say at this point. So here I wanted to include our actual ticket, because when you get them online, it's just a digital thing. It's not an actual ticket. It's basically just holding your spot. But then once you get there and you stand in the line and they come around, they check you in, then when you go inside, they give you actual tickets, which I didn't realize that was going to happen. So I definitely wanted to keep mine and scrap it. So there it is. And then just this was on a board that they had inside the theater. And then I did a little washi here. And again, I had lots of these cards, so I thought, okay, that's a good one to use because all the colors really match like everything that's happening. So then this I pulled from online, and then this was just right at the start of where you enter the theater, and happened to be black and gold, which certainly matched well. And here we are inside the theater. So we were able to watch all of the different DNC speeches that were happening that night while we were waiting for the show to start. You get let in at like 7-ish, I think, and the show didn't actually start till 10 because it's live. You have to wait for everything at the convention to finish, and then it's live. So, people kind of found their seats, and then they went off and milled about and did other things while we were waiting to get started. But we actually sat and watched all the speeches. So we saw the Obamas. That was great. It was a very interesting night. You can see here I used more of the cards I had. I used a puffy sticker here, again here, and I really just wanted to keep with this color scheme because there's so much other stuff happening. So I think simple was best in terms of this layout. And here you can see there's another card there, and then puffy sticker, just a regular Chicago one here that I had, and some pictures from the evening, again, while we were waiting for the show to start. And then that went so late that by the time we got back to our room, it was past 1 a.m. So we just fell into bed because we were just so exhausted after all of that. And that means that when we got up the next morning, we definitely needed coffee. And luckily there's a place like 2 blocks away. So we just walked to it. It's called the Bourgeois Pig. I've also been there before. It's one of my favorite coffee places in Chicago. If you're in Lincoln Park, I highly recommend it. So I had to do a fun little coffee insert there with some foiled stickers. Those are from Pipsticks. Then here you can see what we actually got. Mine was the iced one. And then I had another DIY embellishment that I could use. So I stuck that on there as well. And then I decided to take my husband's paper venture ticket. I have a hard card because I'm there so much. I decided to just invest in the hard card. So I use that every time I'm there and just reload it. But he had a paper one. And so I kept it and I stamped Chicago on it. Slapped it on there. So very easy to make that kind of a pocket card. So I always like that. And then here, if you have the Venture app, you can go in and see all of your previous rides within a certain period. So I printed this out so we can actually see, like, did we ride the train or the bus? And at what station did we get on? And did we depart? And all of that. So I find that interesting to look back on. So I included that here. And then the last page is our ride home on the train. We flew down, but then we took the Amtrak back. So these were just some shots out the window here because the weather was lovely. And then of our actual train here when we arrived home. So now you've seen all 3 trips that went into this album. It is pretty full, but it's not like stuffed to the gills. I can close it easily. I'll show you this. It's not bad. I mean, it's definitely full, but it's not bad. I've had others, that stick out like this because they're so full. But I'm so happy to have all 3 of those trips completed and in the same album. I haven't written on this yet, but I will. But it's such a good feeling and such an accomplishment to know that I have all of that done. Thanks for watching.